This is the Infinity Warmup podcast. Oh man, you guys, we're going to go over the Guardians of the Galaxy in this episode.
Volume 1.
Volume 1. Promptly after the God damn it. There was so much that I'm just, all these leftover feelings from Captain America, the Winter Soldier. Like, I want to rewatch it from all the dope-ass fight scenes, but I mean, it's just, there's so much going on that I can't watch it an eighth time. But I'm totally amped for this Guardians movie.
I mean, we spent 3 hours on Captain America. I hope we got everything out.
Let's hope we laid it to rest.
So I'm Trey. You're Jabriel.
Oh, we didn't do the introductions. Yes, this is Brill.
No, not even a little. I was gonna let you keep going.
That's the homeboy Trey, and we are all up on our mics and ready to talk about this musical film. I don't know.
Well, the soundtrack got a lot of praise, but in fact, let me pull up the accurate stats, because it got like album, or rather best soundtrack at the Grammys in 2015, hit the #1 spot on the billboards, despite having no original music on Awesome Mixtape Volume 1 is what we're talking about. And Tyler Bates did a lot of the original compositions for some of the moments in the film, but what stands out the most is the soundtrack. And in fact, I think the soundtrack has the most long-lasting impact on the film, despite how awesome Groot and Rocket appear to be. But let's start with some fun stuff off the top. Since we're doing this so close off the heels of Captain America, I think it's a good idea to just have a retrospective on the MCU thus far, because the next film we're going to talk about puts us back on Earth with Avengers Age of Ultron. So this is the film where I first started hearing that Marvel has a problem with villains, and that they're not three-dimensional or fleshed out characters. And Lee Pace's Ronin, and this one kind of feels like a retread of the Dark Elf Malekith. The Joker in The Dark Knight is considered like the pinnacle of comic book villainy. And there's really no character that can even match. And granted, tonally, Marvel isn't going for that. But you have to make them interesting. And the argument is that Marvel fails to do this because the villains often get overlooked and, put under, like Robert Downey Jr.'s performance as Iron Man takes over the whole movie. So you can't really do much with Hammer or Obadiah Stane or... And even when you try to subvert it with what they did with who's the guy who you hate, Trevor Slattery, the Mandarin, then that gets its own criticism as well, but for different reasons. Do you honestly feel like it's an issue? Do you think that Marvel villains need to be more compelling? That is taking away from the film as a whole. We'll go with this one specifically.
Do they need to be more compelling? I would suppose, I have to answer that yes, because this whole time that you asked me that question, I was thinking about I remember the villains, but I mean, were any of them like stand outish at all? And it seems like no. Like I kind of like this villain because he actually had contact with Thanos. And then, skipping a little bit ahead into the podcast, like that one chance he gets to see why he even needs Thanos is really pivotal in the film. So I would say maybe not up until this part, but this villain, I kind of liked him. Not all the way through. I liked him a lot until, part in the end, which we'll get to later, but...
And you didn't feel like he was, he's definitely paying second fiddle to Thanos. We understand that now for the last two post-credit teasers, at least in Avengers, and then again in, when did Thanos show back up? Is it just Avengers was the last time that we saw him?
I think, well, he showed up like a hologram or something.
Yeah, well, no, we actually went out to space with the others, and they said that Earth these heroes are just too good. we to fight them would be to court death, and Thanos turns around and smiles. So I think this is the next time that we get to see him.
Yeah,
and I think even when I saw this film in the theaters, I was clamoring for more Thanos as opposed to Ronan the Accuser, the Kree zealot.
Well, the problem I find with Ronan in this movie is like the information they give you is like they give you like, oh well, my Kree have been fighting your planet for just thousands and thousands of years, and I'm gonna put a stop to it by killing everybody. And I made this deal with Thanos, and he's gonna let me kill all these people. I don't really know what's gonna happen after that. It's like, wait, so you've just been to war with these people, the Xandarans, whatever, for thousands of years, and what was that first scene about where they introduce him as a character? He's just like in this pool. Was that him taking a bath in that water, or does he live in that water and they woke him up?
They don't give you much backstory on that, but yeah, well, so
all the information is stupid about him. I just think I don't want to skip too far ahead. He just becomes interesting later, right?
Yeah, and up to this point in the movie, or the beginning of the movie, you're supposed to understand that a peace treaty had been signed between the Xandarians and the Kree, the two aliens that we're getting to know in this film, and
he
that
doesn't
Ronan
recognize
is a
it
bit
at
of
all.
yeah, he's a terrorist zealot. They call me a traitor, all that stuff. In the comic books, he's the head accuser, which is, I guess, the head of the Kree military kind of thing, and his whole Warhammer is a large part of his character. But he's not on the outskirts of Kree society like he is in this one. He's I guess, a celebrated member of the team. So this movie, I feel, outside of Marvel telling origin stories, that this use of an ensemble cast is pretty consistent throughout the next films that we get to see in the MCU. And I think even going back one to Captain America Winter Soldier, Marvel is starting to get the hint that, oh yeah, team ups are the thing to do. Obviously this movie was hugely successful, one of my favorites, and especially since we opened up phase 2 with Iron Man 3 and Thor 2. I thought we were on a slippery slope spiraling down until Winter Soldier came out, followed up with this one. I guess, are you a fan of seeing all the characters thrown into one movie? Because I think even after Ultron, with Civil War, has some like there's no top billing in that one. It's just put them all in there right away, all of it.
That's what the intro was. The first Avengers was for. Like, that's where we tell all the stories. After that, it's just action, and maybe one guy gets a story told at a time.
Yeah, and you'll see when we get to like the Ant-Mans and the Doctor Strange that you reserve the one character per origin story. But
dude, I'm amped for Doctor Strange. Don't get me started.
Really, I don't know how I feel about that one. I felt like it was a retread, like very paint by numbers, sort of like they were just doing the best hits of the first Iron Man for Doctor Strange. But we'll get to him when we get to him. And also this film takes a more humorous approach that we start to see throughout the rest of the films, like a Ragnarok, like an Ant-Man. Although Ant-Man can kind of be attributed to Paul Rudd being more of a comedic actor. But do you feel like the humor, and I believe I asked you this for Thor Ragnarok, detracts from any kind of serious moments that they would have had throughout the film? I'm inclined to say no, but I wonder what your opinion is.
Not this film. This film is just goofy all the way around. Until that one part where he just killed himself to save someone else. That part was super weird, and I feel like the music had a lot to do with his actions. And it wasn't funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, so where do we are you still asking me these questions?
I didn't mean to grill you. Is there anything you want to bring up at the top of the show before we take a little first break and hop into this?
Oh, first break time already?
Well, yeah, otherwise we're keeping this section crazy short, man.
We
I mean, there are some fun things to bring up. Did you know that Vin Diesel recorded the line "I am Groot" over 1,000 times and did it in like 7 different languages so that they can use his voice for every theatrical release?
I heard that, dude. That's crazy. And that's good that he did something, because otherwise, you know, I've heard a lot of people like that don't know me at sometimes, but talk shit about how much did he get paid to say that. But once I read a little bit about the character, and I hope that he said it a bunch of different ways, because with you know what I found out was he has his own language and that's all they know how to say. But depends on how they say it. You know, means what it means. You know what I mean? Depending on the different ways they say "I am" and Groot, like it just could mean a whole bunch of different shit. And that's how Rocket knows what he's saying. He spent a lot of time with him, and he knows the difference.
And I love the evolution of even going into Volume 2, how the rest of the Guardians of the Galaxy are starting to pick up on his language and how to talk to Groot. Yeah. There was that post-credit scene at the end of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 where Peter Quill is telling him to clean his room. And he gives the whole teenager, "I am Groot." It's like, I don't care. Yeah, so that's cute. I can't wait for him to interact with characters like Iron Man or anyone Earth-based to just see this outlandish, crazy tree person that only says 3 words, and the rest of the Guardians have to explain what he's saying.
Yeah, and
good dynamic.
I was wondering myself, you know, like how big does this character get versus how useful can they make him, which might have something to do with how they ended up making, you know, his character evolve in the second movie. But you asked if I wanted to bring something up, and yeah, there's a shit ton of characters in this movie, and if not just characters, planets.
Yeah. You're doing a lot of world hopping.
Yeah, and that's that's a little bit distracting. And
do you feel like some of this groundwork could have been laid down in Thor, since he's really our only other perspective into the cosmic side at this point?
They could have used other relative terms, like the term like Terran was only used in this movie, as far as I know, to refer to Earth, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They explained that like at the end of the movie after they beat the villain, and they were just like, "Yes, your mother is Terran from Earth," and I was like, "You asshole!" I was like, "What the fuck?" Like at least half the movie, the first time.
Well, even in they say it relatively early in the beginning too with Yondu. When we picked you up from Terran, I had to stop everybody from eating you. That thing. So
I suppose, but I mean, he doesn't quite say it's Earth. I mean, that could just be like one thing about this movie is like he's like the Fry from Futurama of this whole show. He's the only guy who's Earth ever. They picked him up at the age of like 5, so that means that every girl he's ever had sex with was probably an alien.
Most definitely an alien.
There's a lot of,
and he's about like 8 or 9 when we meet him. So before we hop in, how much are you familiar with anything Guardians of the Galaxy as it relates to the comic book, or any space or cosmic level Marvel related comic titles? Like I know you read some Silver Surfer and whatnot.
Yeah. I feel like I've seen them show up in a comic book, maybe, but nothing memorable. Like
Starjammers,
they didn't
no
seem
Galactus, no.
I also didn't read them. Yeah, I also didn't read that many
Skrulls.
comics. If I saw them come by, and if I noticed them at all, it would probably have been from a show. And I mean, I don't know. I didn't know or like anything about the Guardians until I knew it was becoming a movie. I'm that kind of fanboy. Yeah. It's sorry,
fine.
Guys.
You're in a lot of the boat that everybody else is in. In fact, that was a lot of the comedy surrounding Star-Lord's character. With nobody knows who I am. I'm just out to get some recognition. Somebody please call me Star-Lord. But let's take a little break and then hop into Guardians of the Galaxy.
short break, and we're gonna go over the summary of this movie. And let's see, it goes like this.
You're absolutely ridiculous.
They were kidnapped by aliens, or no, he was kidnapped by aliens when he was young. Peter Quill now travels the galaxy, salvaging anything of value for resale. When he comes across an Infinity Stone, he is pursued by Ronan the Accuser, a Kree zealot. When Ronan finally acquires it, it's left to Peter and his newfound friends, Gamora, Drax, Groot, and Rocket to stop him. It's a terrible summary.
Easily the most inorganic thing that's ever happened on this podcast.
It was so bad because it's hard for me to see it on the screen, actually, because this whole soundproof thing is blocking my visual for half the screen. I forgot that while I'm on this podcast right now, I'm not looking at my screen at all, so... Retarded.
Yeah, we say kidnapped, but he's actually orphaned and then stolen. That's the opening sequence of the movie. It starts on a very down note, you know?
But it also looks like they knew that she was gonna die, right?
Well, I mean, yeah, obviously. She looked like Tilda Swinton from Doctor Strange's movie.
No, I
it's
mean
all that.
I mean, the ship that picked him up happened to be there right outside him when his mom died, picking him up for some mission. Yeah, no, they all.
Yeah, and I thought
that
was like oddly coincidental, but when we get to Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, it's like, oh yeah, no, obviously, Ego is having tabs placed on his son so that he knows where he is and what's going on at all times.
They make a reference to it at the end, but it's, like, I feel like at that point in the movie, it's so hard for me to tell if they're joking or not. It's at the end of the movie when they say, oh, like, it's a good thing we didn't take him back to his dad, like, and then what's his name? Yondu goes, yeah, that guy's an asshole. And it's like, to Yondu, everyone's an asshole, right?
Well, yeah, so, but there's that scene with Glenn Close right afterward. She's the Xandarian, I guess, leader, and she's, analyzing Peter Quill's DNA sequence and whatnot, and she acknowledges that, yeah, you're human, but something else that we haven't really seen before. So yeah, it's definitely ancient. Setting up the sequel.
Yeah, this dude was probably around last time Malekith attacked what was it? Thor? What was Thor's grandpa's name? Barbossa or some shit.
Odin Bor. Yeah.
Bor.
Yeah.
When he fought the Dark Elves, that means this guy. That's where this guy's dad's from.
Ego, the living planet. Yeah, he's pretty old. He's a thing.
Fucking crazy.
But after this sad kidnapping sequence, we're greeted with easily the largest and most obnoxious title card in the history of printed font. Like, how do you feel about the confidence of this opening? No, I mean, I loved everything they did with it.
Oh, and okay.
The confidence of the opening was reminiscent to that of Winter Soldier, but only in the complete reverse. In that, yeah, this is going to be very different. It's going to be incredibly bombastic. I remember seeing it in theaters and like looking from left all the way to the right. This giant printed text to see what the hell was printed on screen. How do you like the introduction to adult Peter Quill over "Come and Get Your Love"?
Well, let's address something. So at this point in the movie, when he's doing his song and dance with the that song that I like a lot, they just go, okay, well, Peter Quill got zapped up by this alien spaceship, and 26 years later, something interesting is finally happening. There's finally a story worth telling with Peter Quill. What the fuck's that all about? No. 26 years later. Oh, yeah, check it out. This guy's interesting, right?
What do you want? His awkward teen years? I mean, yeah, that would be definitely fun, but that's a Netflix series, not a movie that you have to squeeze into 2 hours.
That's one thing I want to poke at this movie. Is like, I guess it should... I'm not saying it should have been bigger, maybe just less characters, because it's I didn't know enough about the characters that that I ended up liking the most. They really need to backtrack a little bit. I don't want to mention any names, but Rocket is pretty fucking badass. But the intro song and everything, that was pretty cool. I liked everything they did about the graphics in this movie. Anytime they showed like outer space and all its super dope ass CG colors, that there's no way it looks like that in outer space. But I mean, yeah, if you could make it on this computer, it might look like that.
Yeah, the color saturation throughout the entire movie was kind of it's kind of off the rails. Everything was like,
amazing.
Even when you were on this, I think this planet is called Morag. You could see like the pink in the background of like the Northern Lights or whatever it is. It was pretty gnarly.
Like, space is cool, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and that opening sequence in the cave was actually supposed to be set to Hooked on a Feeling, but James Gunn, who like handpicked all the major music for Awesome Mix Volume 1, he felt like it would go better to Redbone's Come and Get Your Love, so he's to thank for a lot of the musical cues and choices that they make throughout this film.
But you know what? Okay, so about this intro scene, I feel like it tells you a lot about the film already. Like the fact that
yeah, that's what it's meant to do.
And yeah. Okay, so the music is one aspect of the entertainment. There's also just this humor and this don't give a fuck about anything, physics or even biology, anything that would possibly make sense. As soon as he walks into a cave, right, that has a door that doesn't exist. It's really just a doorway. He just walks right into it. And he goes, oh, this must be good to breathe. And he just takes off his mask.
Yeah, Neil deGrasse Tyson is probably not happy about a lot of things that transpire in this film, including several sequences where people are just exposed in the atmosphere to space. But I feel like that just happens in Star Wars and Star Trek pretty consistently. You know?
Probably right.
so you're allowed to. Although I think it is going to be weird when we finally do bring, I guess, Earth-based characters into outer space. Are they allowed to have these same crazy loopholes that these characters could have? Because even Tony Stark, brief trip into space, he passed out immediately and went back through a portal. So
it's true.
So,
well,
yeah,
it's something about the galaxy that they're in, man. I'm not. Did they? I guess they're in the same galaxy as Earth. If they got, I don't really know at this point. I'm just assuming that they're really, really far away, and the time that this was all taking place was they're basically caught up in the Marvel universe, right? They said 2014.
Yeah, so Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1 and 2 happen about 3 months apart from each other, and I don't recall seeing what Groot looked like in the Avengers Infinity War trailer, but you can kind of gauge where Guardians of the Galaxy sits based on like Groot's height progression.
Well, plug this in right now to what's happening. Is that so after like Winter Soldier?
Yeah.
That's happening over there? Okay.
I
was just trying to gauge myself. Well, because the movie already, like I said, started off with, this kid's life is boring, even though he got abducted at the age of 9.
Boring or sadly traumatic?
Well, obviously there wasn't a story to tell until he turned 34, and he got this team of people who's willing to work together like a Cowboy Bebop team to make money.
I mean, when he makes it to prison after he's on Morag to steal an orb, which we find out later is the Infinity Stone and in charge of, I guess, power, and he's apprehended. That's a fun sequence. But what I wanted to say was that they have his rap sheet on there when the Nova Corps apprehends all 5
John
of them.
C. Reilly?
Yeah, when John C. Reilly apprehends them. And he's like wanted on like 3 counts of theft, like seducing a prime minister's daughter or something. Like, yeah, he's done all kinds of crazy things. He's a scammer of some kind, some Cowboy Bebop-esque space bounty hunter of objects. So yeah, he's led an interesting life. He was a Ravager for a while. In fact, that's what Korath says to him, I notice that you have Ravager garbs on. You're something. Star-Lord? Who? Yeah. So.
Okay, so what's like? Okay, real quick, to jump back, I feel like there's more I didn't say about that scene.
All right.
The song and dance thing. Shout out to Sony, right?
For the Walkman product placement.
Yeah.
Did you know that sales for Walkmans actually shot up like 700% after this movie?
But wasn't that still right before they bought Spider-Man though?
Yeah, there's still some kind of war going on. I mean, to this day, it's a thing between Sony Studios and Marvel Studios over who gets to use Spider-Man, to the point where they're using a Venom movie without Spider-Man, and I can't wait for that to crash and burn.
I want to watch. Let's go watch it together, Trey.
God, no. Why? Why?
You don't want to see a Venom
Why
movie?
make that movie with... He's always
Without
been
Spider-Man?
this relatively uninteresting tangential character to Spider-Man. Why? We're not here for this. Don't make me get angry. You won't like me. By the way.
Oh man. Okay. So that guy Korath. That dude is badass, right?
Fuck. Do you even want to try to pronounce this gentleman's name?
No.
Okay.
I'm not. I'm talking about the. I'm talking. See, don't get off topic, man. I'm talking about the character. Like when he started chasing after Peter Quill, like he had that lion's roar, and he jumped out like 30 feet, like out of this cave, and just hit the ground running. I was like, God damn it, Peter, go! This guy's scary.
And he's good in everything that he's in, but he's always so underserved. He's in that new Tarzan movie. I think he's the best part about the Tarzan movie. Like they need to use him for more things.
Alexander Harrington?
Jesus Christ, good job pulling that name out of a hat. But yeah, yeah, that one.
Well, I think he's the guy who's the son of the guy who plays the scientist you like so much in Thor.
Way to go, us.
We know things. Oh yeah, one of my favorite lines in this movie was what's his name? The director's brother who's in the movie.
Sean Gunn. Yes.
Yeah, Sean Gunn. When he's just like, it's time for me to teach everybody something. He's just like, Captain's got to teach stuff.
Yeah.
Like, what was the point of that? I don't know, but it was fucking funny.
I
That's one of the
honestly
things I was trying to say about this movie. Is like, I can drop a lot of things that I feel like should be important. That just because overall, like this movie, everybody fucking likes this movie. How do you not like this movie?
And Sean Gunn is the best part of Volume 2, in my opinion. It was nice getting to see all the characters again, but he steps it up
what about
big
the
time
end?
to just be a goof troop.
What about the end of the movie? Remember that?
What do you mean?
After the credits, when he's getting better at using
when Yondu goes down. Yeah. We'll try not to step too much on the toes.
Try not to ruin it. Yeah,
since we'll be getting to that a few months from now.
So I thought Korath was pretty badass, and then I think at the end he got into a fight with Drax, whom I was
the Destroyer.
I was really on the fence about him as a character because he's pretty funny, but I feel like he's supposed to be the muscle, and if you have Groot's, I don't know that you need muscle like this guy. So I'm wondering what he's doing on the team. But I think he beat Korath in the battle, right? He killed him. He ripped that thing off his face.
Oh yeah, no, he's done for. That was his brain that he was just holding in his hand.
In the fisticuff, like it seemed like they were, 1 for 1, but I don't know. I still think, fucking Groot is holding it. He's holding his status in the movie overall way better than Drax. I thought I'd like him more.
Really, to me, Drax was one of the standout characters. I mean, I'm sorry, they're all really, really good, but I think Drax is my favorite in this one. Even though
You're
there's
gonna go with Drax right now. Your favorite character.
Come on, how ridiculous is every single one of his lines? Don't ever call me a thesaurus.
I wasn't listening. I was thinking about something else.
That, right?
No, he's totally funny.
You're talking about his utility as a character, and it's not like they were like drafting people from a starting lineup of pool. Like, in fact, he wasn't even supposed to be on the team. Like, Gamora's like, "What is this guy doing here? Make him go away."
He was like, "No, fuck that. I'm gonna kill this guy." Right?
Here for my revenge. Yeah.
It was kind of silly of him to think he could just kill Ronan. Like, I thought Drax was like this unstoppable just fighting machine, and maybe compared to me, he is, but like one-on-one to Ronan, like Ronan saw him coming a mile away when he did that swing. He just ducked that shit. He was like giving his like secretary a message, and then like he's like got swung at from behind. He just dodged that shit like the Matrix, and then proceeded to beat the living shit out of Drax, and then for some reason didn't kill him.
It's like, I'll let this pool of yellow liquid decide how well you die.
So many opportunities to kill this man, and you didn't.
That's just a mainstay of every action movie, because at some point you have to have the hero and villain confront each other to hey, here's where we are now. Let's talk about this movie, our goals, what we're trying to get out of this, and they need to separate and not die. So you have to have these weird Mexican standoff situations where I'm gonna kill you, but not right now. Like James Bond villain things. I'm gonna leave this to chance. And what did he say? I don't recall killing your family. I doubt I'll remember killing you. And then immediately chucks him into a vat of acid.
What was it?
Like
Yellow
and
blood?
honestly, like as far as ridiculous reasons for the hero to get away, I think chucking somebody into a vat of yellow goo, or what was it? I guess celestial brain tissue. Like, yeah, I'd figure he'd be dead. Yeah, I would probably like curb stomp him a few times to make sure, but he didn't. He let the liquid decide.
That's true, but he assumed that he needed oxygen to live. That's his fault. You know, they're all aliens. I don't know that all of them do. I know that if we're jumping universes real quick, there's this character in Spider-Man named Tombstone. This guy don't need oxygen to live, all right? So if you throw this guy anywhere, he's going to be like, fuck this shit. Space, water, I don't give a shit. I'm coming after you.
I thought he just had like a really hard head. Like that.
No, that's Hammerhead. Tombstone, the guy who's dead. He's like a zombie.
Okay. I'll go with that. Why not?
Okay. But you know what? At this point, so yeah, I think I don't want to be too unspecific on how I feel about all this. I feel like, yeah, I mentioned the utility of Drax. Didn't really say that I like him. If I want to mention utility about any character, fucking Peter Quill. This dude is the man from the start of the movie. It's like, yeah, he's human, but he has like a gadget for everything.
Oh yeah,
needs to get like 5 feet across over here. He flies over here.
His jacket does have a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it's very Batman-esque.
And it's weird because he's played like a hapless Han Solo. Like you compared him earlier to Fry. I see that, and I also see like a Jack Sparrow thing in him, but I'm under the impression that you can't really revolve a story around that guy being the driving crux of the story and the main protagonist, as it were. Usually characters like Peter Quill are relegated to comic relief, even though they are, you know, a driving force behind some of the plot. But yeah, like this was an awesome character that carried the movie, led a team, and managed to have some of the funnier lines. And I think you're putting characters like Drax around him, and Groot, who only says 3 words, can serve as a large portion of the humor. But yeah, like he's really good, but he's also goofy and clumsy too. So yeah, it's Star-Lord is a good character, and not a lot like his comic book counterpart, huh?
Where does he show signs of clumsiness in the movie?
Like several. Every time he's on screen, the man's a klutz. Or, you know, like, okay, there's that scene when they meet the collector, Tadalier Tavarius, and he pulls the orb out of his pocket and drops it.
Oh, yeah, okay, no, you're right, yeah.
And hands it back to him. And that scene specifically, that actually happened, and because what's his name, Chris Pratt, stayed in character, they just kept that sequence in there. But even him escaping from Korath is not really done smoothly. He does the Neo lean back, falls to the ground, turns on his shoes, and like rolls 10 feet when he gets away, because he's, you know, not smooth.
Huh.
But it's one of the better aspects about his character.
Yeah, this movie's definitely just coming at you a whole different way with these characters. I myself was drawn to Rocket on account of like he's got the humor. He can't fight like fisticuffs, but like he seems to be something like an awesome engineer to just keep modifying and making weapons and shit. And this dude like never misses a target. And I think he's better at flying and like whatnot than Peter Quill, right?
Well, but you don't really get a sense of what piloting school everybody attended to know how to operate these vessels. It was remember when Thor got into that dark elf spacecraft in Thor 2? Like, whoa, how do you like? I promise it's difficult to fly a plane.
Weird ships that he'd never come into contact with before.
But yeah, when they were on Nowhere and they hopped into those pods, I guess everybody's a great pilot now. I feel like they could use a perspective sort of person, like how Star Wars has that. What's that new guy's name? Not Finn, but the other Poe. How Poe is an awesome pilot. I feel like anyone in the Marvel universe should like delineate between what an awesome pilot is, because everybody walks into that Iron Man suit and has no problem banking hard turns,
True.
Well.
Yeah, for some reason I didn't find myself complaining too much about that. Well, because I assume in
I'm
this
not
movie,
even complaining. It's just strange that everybody is so good at piloting.
Yeah, I guess you have to assume because these characters are like they didn't like join a team looking for help. They were like they were all individuals that were working solo. I mean, except for Rocket and Groot, but I mean, Rocket would have been the one to fly anything that those two are carrying, and Groot's the muscle on that mission. So for the most part, they're well-rounded in that sense, I suppose, if that makes sense. Like they all drive their own car.
And do you want to talk about how everybody meets up? It's after that scene where Ronan lays out his plan to Thanos to get the orb to just fuck up all of Xandar. So
okay, this is first of one of the many scenes where it seems like space isn't that big.
Yep.
And what I mean is like not only can people just show up, it's like sometimes like two people looking at you, looking to find you coming from different directions. No one knows like how fast they get information on where your like whereabouts are versus where they come from, but they all show up at the same time.
Yeah. This is convenience, but
it's space, man.
It had me thinking about cell phones a lot. Like if you get separated from somebody in the vastness of space, like if you don't got like a tracker on them, like which way do you go forever in one direction until you find the person that you need to look for? You're
supposed to keep
like
going.
I got lost in like the fucking mall when I was a kid, and it was curtains.
I know.
This is all of space.
That's what I'm saying. Are these planets the size of like a mall? Because otherwise, this is scary as shit. Like, where is Peter Quill went to this planet that I don't think is small at all called Xandar. It wasn't like the city. I mean, that was maybe the city part of some location, but I don't think they were in like a parking lot. I think it was a giant planet, somewhat of a planet. And everybody was right there at the right time looking for this guy.
This is our Stan Lee cameo. We get him right up front.
Instantly,
yeah.
Rocket Raccoon. Sorry. Yeah, he calls him a perv because it's like Stan Lee and some hot young 22-year-old chick, and he's probably
Who's
trying
your wife, old man. But okay, I don't necessarily think it's crazy convenient that those four particular characters met up on there, because you saw that Ronan sent down Gamora because he knew that Quill was going to try to sell off the orb to somebody. So yeah, send Gamora to Xandar. That's probably where it's going to be. And Rocket and Groot were already in the area, just scanning for bounties. So yeah, it's not that crazy and convenient.
They did just kind of find him there, but no, like, how long does it take to get Gamora from Ronan to wherever Peter Quill is exactly in 2 hours?
Who knows?
Fucking
Who knows?
ridiculous. That's how
they
long.
did detours. They took stops.
I met this guy named Goku along the way. He taught me this instant transmission thing. It's fucking just gone.
So the broker wants absolutely nothing to do with the orb once he finds out that this insane Kree zealot
because this part of the story that should be this part of the story that should be interesting is just some old tale about how our planet goes to war with their planet, and right now they have this scary guy that wants to break the rule of, what's it called,
they had a peace
truce.
Yeah.
There's
no war. Things are fine and dandy.
But everybody knows
right now.
Everybody knows about Ronan, though.
I'm sorry.
Everyone knows about Ronan.
Well, yeah, he's been killing fools. But it's like a crusade. It's a personal mission to lay waste to every Xandarian he can find. For reasons. Yeah, and this is kind of the knock on him, is he's painted as like a one-dimensional sort of Malekith, not exactly trying to return the world to darkness, but he really has a murder boner for the Xandarians.
I feel like so this scene that we're at right now, so Gamora just found him outside the broker, and so she like basically exchanges like 7 words and a crossover and kicks him and steals the stone.
How afraid of her would you be? You just got pushed out of some dude's office for trying to get rid of the orb, and you look over to your right, and there's this crazy green skin chick just leaning up against the wall like, hey, how you doing?
How come you're here right now? Who are you? You knew about this? Yeah, it's super weird. To me, she was like, I was trying to compare her with the Black Widow, and I was like, man, she's like Black Widow, like 7 times stronger than Black Widow, is what it seemed like. She is fucking crazy.
In the comic books, her, I guess, a nickname or like titles, like a Khaleesi, Mother of Dragons thing, is the most dangerous woman in the universe. is what people know her as. I can't wait to find out some history about her, because the most interesting part I find about her is like, well, the fact that she just kept beating the shit out of Thanos' daughter, like growing up, like she just. They're sisters, and yeah, that is her backstory. Her and Nebula and a slew of other. Consider Thanos and all of his children like Ego the Living Planet and all of his children. Only I guess they're not all dead, but yeah, Nebula and Gamora are part of that ilk, to where they've just been trained to just be frightening, dangerous people for their entire lives. Like that is her backstory.
Yes, but you kind of, I wanted you to mention the fact that, okay, so she's not related to Nebula, right? Nebula is related to Thanos. You think being related to Thanos, his daughter, his spawn would be fucking crazy, right? He's like a Titan or some shit. So
they call him the Mad Titan. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he was like the last one of his race. He's like the last one of his race. Anyways, so his daughter should be dope as shit, and he's got this adopted daughter of some people that he killed, that he had them train against each other, like growing up, and every time she whooped on his daughter's ass, he would replace a part of her with a mechanical part. And she did this constantly growing up, every time they set up against each other, and it's like, that's how cool she is, or how dope she is, because that's how I'm using Nebula's strength, I suppose, in reference, as she's Thanos' daughter. This is important, right?
I mean, yeah.
If Thor had a daughter, she'd be fucking insane, right? Because Odin's daughter, not a daughter, but son, Thor, is crazy. I think that's how it works, right? Am I giving her too much credit to being the daughter? Who's her mom, I suppose, is the question.
Golly, don't do this whole genealogy thing to me. But
it's important. Look.
Not necessarily.
Shut up. No,
literally, Thanos doesn't care at all about his children or anybody safe from wooing the affection of death.
No, this is a main character, and bloodline is very important, as we find out in part 2. Could the bloodline, or the other side of the coin of Peter Quill?
Yeah, but that's in relation to Quill.
Okay. Well,
Thanos is a different monster. Well, Mad Titan. as it were. He doesn't like. Yeah, it's cool if they don't get killed on their individual missions that he's sending them on, but much like
I
Lee
like to
Pace's
keep
Ronin, he could give a fuck less about anything other than his goals.
I like to keep the option open. You know, it seems like they open a lot of doors in these Marvel movies and they don't follow through with all of them. Sometimes they're just doors to nowhere, but I'm just like, oh, that's interesting. Maybe they'll pick that up later. Like back to Hulk and the leader, and maybe no. Hey,
no, not even.
Whoever's listening.
Are you done with the ridiculous chase / fight sequence of trying to retrieve basically all the antics that happened to them prior to getting arrested?
Yeah. Okay. So
they use this scene like Stark building his armor, like Captain America running down the street trying to catch a Hydra agent. This is just so that you can see what each individual character is specifically good at. Groot is good at getting cut in half by a sword. Rocket's good at he just chopped his arms off. that was pretty rotten. Yeah.
See, Rocket has no defense, but I mean, like, he still shouldn't be underestimated. Like, because otherwise, he's basically doing the Batman move where it's like, okay, well, I have no part here because everybody's super powered, so I'm going to come back with like a glider or like a bat something like mobile, and I'm going to even the fucking playing field, assholes.
Yeah, and this is another scene where Chris Pratt's Star-Lord is a goofball. Did you see him hopping out of that bag, that Christmas bag that Santa kidnapped him in? Like he's just not a smooth guy. He's getting paced. I live for the simple things in life, like how much of this is going to hurt, and he just got zapped and went down and writhed on the ground for like a minute and a half. It was great.
Everybody got kind of jacked up,
and they all get picked up by the Nova Corps and sent to the kiln. This is where you get the Suicide Squad, pre-Suicide Squad character introduction.
We have another scene where we have a Marvel hero, another Chris Pratt, just do the shirtless scene for whatever reason, just gets sprayed down. But I'm okay with it. I just want a little bit of equality. You know, I didn't see a single boob from Gamora, or
in fact,
a butt,
inside baseball, I guess. If you remember the trailer for it, there was a very quick scene of a shirtless Gamora looking over her shoulder. Well, I guess side boob or whatever. That scene is not in the movie at all.
Damn it.
I wrote that down specifically because I knew you would be mad by that not being in there. But no, Chris Pratt lost 60 pounds and put on a gang of muscle for this role.
Jesus.
He wanted it really bad.
Well, I mean, okay, so you said, you and I talked earlier about how you'd never seen Parks and Rec. Well, I have, after I've seen this movie, of course, but like in between a season or two change of what happened to his character because he spent time, playing Star-Lord, he went from like chubby white guy, kind of just like thick overall, but like heavy set, to this ripped individual, and they tried to act like nothing happened. Yeah.
So wait, Parks and Rec is before and after Guardians?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So wait, is there any lip service paid to why he looks like a fucking Adonis all of a sudden?
No, not that I can remember.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
No, you gotta say something, like human growth serum, or I don't know. Yeah. That's hilarious. I might watch it just for that.
I want to see. Well, okay. So did Gamora get her own cell?
Initially, yeah, but everybody else had to sleep on the floor, and yeah.
Okay. There's this happens throughout the movie where it's like you just kind of have to take it as is because of the humor, so you could see that all the guys laying down in one room, there's like people with their arms laying over each other, and the cute little scene where Rocket got up, like, and his like face was his hair was all smashed in.
Down and whatnot. Yeah, a bunch of prisoners take Gamora over to be executed, and this is a classic, like, why don't you just kill them now scene where
not just that though, but we get to see how willing or how much the willingness to pay, like the value of what Chris Pratt's willing to do in this movie to get laid.
Yeah, and really that's his only motivating factor for even getting out of bed. because at this
they have
point,
no
all
ties.
he knows is that Gamora is just out there trying to kill him. So if a bunch of prisoners wanted to shank her in a dark alley, then more power to him,
Exactly.
Like, why is he even bothering with that?
He really wants to get laid.
This is our introduction to Drax, who only I am allowed to kill Gamora. We get great lines. Yeah, everything Drax says is just wonderful. What does this mean? It's a universal symbol. It's running the finger across the neck bit. Like, you know what this means, right?
Yeah,
everybody knows what this means.
It's only native to Earth. Yeah, like the whole literal part didn't make any sense. It was like, how much? It seems like you're speaking English, but like this part of translation didn't make it.
He doesn't understand metaphor, and that is swayed a little bit here and there throughout the proceeding. Over my head.
I would catch it.
Yeah, too fast. And I believe Drax does a few things himself that are metaphor based that he shouldn't be able to. I think he says something about Ronan playing possum. Or something. There's a few lines where it's like, hey, that goes against everything you stand for. But whatever. Quill talks Drax off a cliff, saying that this is the daughter of the Mad Titan. Don't kill her. She can lead you to Ronan. And Ronan, of course, has murdered his entire family. And he wants his revenge, so he agrees tentatively to be. They're not a team at this point; they're a loose coalition of people who all kind of want the same thing. And this leads to the prison break sequence. I'm gonna need his leg. It's important. Yeah, how'd you like that? How do you like getting out of the kiln?
It was. I mean, it really brought me back to the kid that I was like Saturday morning when I was looking for awesome cartoons to watch. This would have been so funny to watch because immediately Groot just dumb fuck goes, "Hey, you want this? I'll go get it," and doesn't say anything.
Oh yeah. They're trying really hard to come up with like a serious-minded, "This is how we're gonna play this."
Yeah, it's such a cartoon. It's so like Vash the Stampede, or Cowboy Bebop. It's like some shit happened, and we're gonna make it out on. It'll be okay, but it's gonna be like a hell of a time getting out. Yeah,
play by ear. Yeah, that was all great. They make it out of prison, and they have to go to nowhere because Gamora says that
the Collector.
She has a guy that is willing to pay them buku dollars.
Well,
and it'll take the orb off of everybody's hand.
Yeah. Okay, so like they're told $4 billion, and there's this scene where like they're waiting for the Collector and they're getting to know each other a little bit more. And they have to stop a bar fight, and they're talking about like he's like yelling at Rocket. He's like, 4 billion units, Rocket. That's what you're throwing away here, and it's like you're at a bar with a bunch of other people that do what you do for a living.
I didn't think about that.
We'd be a little bit louder.
Yeah, and he yells it too. And what did they say about nowhere? Like it's a mining colony comprised of there are no regulations here.
Yeah, exactly.
Why, you immediately get shot.
And then they fight with each other.
Out that kind of money.
I guess there was no problem at all. Like they were fighting with only each other. Everybody else was like, these guys are ruining it for everybody.
And we're kind of glossing over some of the better character moments in between all of the humor that is transpiring. But you get to see in that same sequence where Peter Quill is being hosed off in orange gunk. Rocket gets the same treatment, and he's just a little rat that has been heavily experimented on. His comic book origin is freaking ridiculous. He's from a planet where I guess advanced aliens are kind of just watching over a colony of insane people, like literally mentally insane people. And they say, why don't we soup up some of the animals in the area to kind of monitor and watch over and take care of these insane people to take the burden off of us. And that's what Rocket Raccoon stems from in the comics. So
he's me but me.
Yeah, he's an augmented space rat or trash panda.
Is that the story of Star Fox?
And it also doubles as the story of Star Fox. And Rocket Raccoon has a complex about what he is that he, doesn't let on because he's an angry raccoon from New York. Don't call him a raccoon.
That's because he doesn't know any better.
Vermin. Yeah, he's nuts. Great character. There's also that nice little moment with Groot where he spawns a flower from his palm and gives it to the dirty, homeless nowhere kid. These are just little nods that I like to character building that you can quickly and efficiently do in a sequence. Because you got to think, this film most closely resembles the Avengers within the MCU, and they did pretty much everything that the Avengers did, only, and what's the runtime on this? Like
2 hours?
120, yeah, like 2 hours. Like it took 4 films to get this much engaging characters and depth. But James Gunn manages to make us really feel for pretty much all 5 of these guys.
It's all those montages,
like right away.
Man. You can cut through so much time just in like a 3-minute song. Like, come and get your love, and all of a sudden 3 missions later it's like they have a history now.
Yeah. I guess more. Yeah, that's a bad takeaway. Suicide Squad has taught me that pop music in your movie is not a good substitute for story and character development.
There's a lot of I'm not smart enough to know the difference, but I feel like there's a lot of things that DC is trying to do that's similar to Marvel, but it's just not quite hitting the target. And it's like it's causing everyone to think that they're just this shitty production company with shitty stories. And there's some good DC comics out there. It's just I don't know why they can't get it done on big screen.
In sincerity, they're approaching everything from the direction of we need to catch up to Marvel.
That's a bad foundation.
Yeah, it's not good groundwork.
It's quicksand. But okay,
so while we're on this colony, we meet the Collector.
Your favorite.
Yeah.
You were like so animated, like he looks so cool in these movies. I don't know how they make him look all cell shaded and whatever it was you were saying about him.
No, all I said is that Benicio Del Toro is the tiredest human being on the face of the planet. Yes, he's downed a bottle of Z-Quil before every shot that they put him in.
He always has a long face in this movie. That's a good point.
And my first time around watching this in theaters, I was looking in all of his glass cases trying to see what fun little things he has. He has Pluto, the cosmic canine in there, that little Russian space dog.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't know his name.
He, in the comic books, is a character, or actually he's the leader of the Guardians of the Galaxy, essentially. In the comic books, and and in early drafts of this script, apparently he was going to be more involved with the team, but kind of like in Game of Thrones, how you don't really have dire wolves on the show because people just understand on a fundamental level like what a dog looks like and how weird it is if there's something off about him, like if it's CGI or if he's talking and his lips are doing a weird thing or if it's moving funny. Same thing was happening with Pluto, so he got shelved because you don't really have a context for like a giant tree that says I am Groot or like just a bipedal raccoon, but like when a dog is being weird. so they didn't use Pluto. But they put him in the case
like they did with fucking Howard the Duck.
I mean, yeah, but that looked weird, right? That was blatantly a weird CGI creation. Like if you wanted to have Pluto next to Chris Pratt the entire movie, I think that would be off-putting.
Okay, it's been 30 years since Cool World, all right? I think they can do it now.
I mean, I was thinking back to movies with dogs in them next to the hero, and it's always like, Air Bud, and that's a real dog that they just taught tricks to, Like I don't recall seeing CGI dogs next to people other than incredibly expensive scenes on Game of Thrones,
And lots of editing.
Yeah, all the jazz.
You know what scene I kind of liked here? I suppose it's skipping quite to the end. The part where Karina hears about what they're talking about and how. Like, okay, so Benicio Del Toro, the Collector, goes over what happened with the 6 Infinity Stones. And I guess we should talk about this because this is pretty important.
Yeah. This is the big exposition drop. This tells us what our Infinity Stones are.
when you hear that ancient beings, like a group of like 12 or more, tried to hold
Celestials.
all 6 stones at the same time, like that they were able to for a couple of minutes, and then it was like they just fucking wiped out, which basically makes me think that these stones create everything. Time, space, power, whatever. And it's like, if one person has that, it's kind of insane. But I don't know what kind of person can hold that. I don't know that anyone should be able to hold that. So I'm assuming, I wonder when they're going to tell us something about this Infinity Gauntlet. Like, why can't it just hold all these stones in one fucking glove? And this glove can just let you unlock the full capability of the stone? How about, isn't that important? The user manual for the glove?
Yeah, they haven't really said too much about the gauntlet, but the collector's exposition dump on the singularities that are the Infinity Stones was the information that we needed. You know, you got to see
well, it told you a lot about Peter eventually, right?
Mm-hmm. What?
Because he was
not
able
right
to hold
then,
that stone for eventually. Like, he was able to hold that stone for such a long time and not just get wiped out. And so were those ancient beings. Like, in fact, they were sharing stones. So I don't know. I feel like in that scene, 6 of them were divided between about 12 people. So that's half a stone. This is the math that I'm trying to do here. But that makes you think that there's something super special about this guy.
Oh, yeah, he's the son of a living planet.
We don't know that yet, dog. These are the hints that they're giving you throughout the movie.
Actually, what they're trying to do.
But I thought it was cool when... So, what's her name? Karina. She hears them talking about the Power Stone. And so he's just like, this amount of power can destroy this and that. And like, you know, like almost no one can hold it, yada, yada. And then she's like, well, fuck this shit. Because apparently no one wants to work for the Collector.
Yeah.
And so she's like, I will not be your prisoner. And then she thinks she's going to grab the Power Stone and just take over planet Earth.
All by herself. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know why she has the selective hearing of, this thing is incredibly powerful. Everybody who touch it gets vaporized. But she's like, nope.
She was all or nothing. It was all. She hadn't been a slave. That's why it was all or nothing. Because his last slave is now kept in a jar. And if you don't want that, you have to use your elbows when you clean shit. Like, I would probably do it too. Like, there's no way out. She's literally a prisoner. Fuck it. I'm throwing it all on black. Like, I'm either gonna take over or die. Whatever.
And you get the I don't think it's ever expressly said that, at least in the movies, that the Collector and the Grandmaster are brothers, but it's obvious in this rewatching that between Thor Ragnarok and Guardians of the Galaxy, that these two are clearly just madmen. Just insane, just people in general. So
that's a good point.
Like I think Benicio and Jeff Goldblum are good spiritual brothers in these films, in their respective films. So while all of this is going on, while calamity ensues, Drax meanwhile has made a phone call to Ronan the Accuser himself, because he really wants that fist fight. He's been slamming back a few beers and whatever
he's like
can get on nowhere.
He's just like, I'm going to find this guy who killed my wife and kid. I'm going to beat him with my fists.
Not find him. I'm going to bring him to me. We have the Power Stone here, and if you want it, you have to come through me, type deal.
Meanwhile, at the same time, the Ravagers... The Ravagers
by the way, they showed up too. Although that I'm kind of okay with, because there's that scene where Yondu went to the broker and then bip, bip, bip. Sir, if you'll listen for a second. Bip, 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 bip. Yeah.
Did you notice that he ended up stealing that frog?
I thought he purchased it. I would like to think that he bought it afterward. I know it's a group of people who only steal things and sell them back, but you don't want to burn bridges with a guy like the broker. He's essentially a space Jew. You don't want to upset the Jews.
Interesting, but why would they just show it? Like, they barely showed that he had it. You know, it seemed like he did a sleight of hands thing, right? He just stacked it with his other frog glasses or some shit.
Well, no, I mean, later on in the film, they show that Yondu has that piece that he was admiring from the broker's little shop on his dashboard or whatever. In fact, what did the broker say? He's like, I can't tell if you're being serious or not. But
that guy has this
yeah.
weird Ethan Hawke look about him. I don't know what it is.
Ethan Hawke? Where do you get that? Does Ethan Hawke have gills on his cheeks?
Yes.
All right. But yeah, I like to think that he bought it from the broker. But either way, bad things happen to our heroes. Gamora is left in the vastness of space. Drax is thrown into a pile of yellow liquid. And just things have gone pear-shaped.
Well, I really liked when what's his name was giving Rocket advice about the ships. He was saying, yeah, well, these things are pretty much indestructible. So if you want to just drive through a bunch of others and just smash through and not give a fuck.
Like, we don't have a weapon system on this thing. It's like, it's not what I meant. Oh, okay. I can play this game of chicken.
It was pretty badass just smashing through everything. So, I mean, just every time, like, maybe you get let down by something not making sense, it's like, yeah, look at this, like, fucking explosion in outer space. And it's like, I love it. I'm back. You guys got me. But one thing didn't get me. Like, the part where Gamora's out in outer space, just kind of freezing there. And then, so Quill goes out of his little ship that has oxygen in it.
Now, I don't know exactly what you're going to say, but I can see all the gripes that you have coming, and I want to tell you right now that I have no answers. Now continue with what you're saying.
It's really simple. I give them a lot of credit for not having all the ideas in the world, but one was for sure that he went out into outer space, he put his little mask on, and then he put the mask on her and was like, all right. I mean, he made the call to Yondu before that, but how about, like, how much extra time would it have taken him for him to fly out there with his mask on and then put her in his spaceship?
I think Rocket gave a line about both of you aren't going to fit in there. Yeah. Basically,
he
Rocket
didn't need that.
Raccoon
He
was
had
doing
a
the
mask
play-by-play.
No, he can fly in outer space with that thing on his face. Just grab her and throw her inside there and close it, and then he has his own outside suit, which we saw before.
Huh.
Where he flew around and Drax saw him, remember? When he went to go get the cassette player?
But then you won't get to tell Gamora how you've changed as a person while you're on top.
Stop pulling the fucking needle with this shit. Stop almost killing people and trying to tug on my heart. Let's see. Yeah, Quill tries way too hard to get laid with this chick. This is another scene right here. This dude risks his life. There's 2 sets of oxygen, one in his mask and one in there, and he gives her one of them and just dies.
Or tries his best to die. Yeah. And what was his line while he was on top of her? He said, I found something heroic.
Yeah, and she just eyes went the other way.
All right.
I feel like, so not long after this is the scene where Ronan confronts Thanos with the Eye of the Power Stone, right?
Yeah. He figures out that the orb that he was going to give Thanos is an Infinity Stone, and now no longer needs Thanos, which is going to do it all himself.
I get that, but why did he say, "I'm going to kill you"? Like, does he just know that he has to kill Thanos eventually for betraying him? Because he has no reason to kill Thanos.
Well, Thanos called him boy, and
by all means.
That is enough.
That's like getting slapped in the face with a white glove. Like, this is a duel. Only one of us walks away.
Yeah, a lot of people take kindly to that.
So he's like, I don't need you anymore. I have the stone, and then I'm going to go destroy this planet that you were supposed to destroy for me, and then I'm going to kill you. So that means he's not worried about Thanos, coming to kill him, because he's going to kill Thanos second.
Yeah, that's what you're led to believe.
So why kill Thanos at all? Like, you're clearly not worried about him retaliating. Like, I'm going to kill you, Thanos. I haven't done anything. In fact, give me back my daughters.
Yeah, and, like, I love how Gamora and Nebula were just so quick to just turn tail at every opportunity. Like, no, we hate working for our dad. Our dad is the worst.
Like, Gamora's like somewhat the story of Loki, right? You killed my family and then stole me and made me fight your kin, but I'm better than your kin, apparently, in this situation. And his other daughter hears him say how favorite Gamora is.
Mm-hmm.
And then
like literally every day of her life.
And she sits there and just looks at how half her body is a machine at this point.
Oh yeah, she's a sad story that gets very underplayed every time she's on screen. It's just the Meg Griffin of space. It's not cool.
I just remembered something. It's a Wolverine story, and I'm hoping you remember this. There's this classic story about this guy who killed Wolverine's wife in Japan. He's a Japanese guy, and Wolverine made like a vow, like every year on his anniversary, to take a new part of this guy, like his nose or his ear. Do you remember this?
Mm-hmm. And
how scary.
That woman was not Mariko. I think Mariko turns out to be like Lady Deathstrike, but one of his Japanese wives. He enacts that kind of revenge too. But he had another wife or girlfriend or love interest named Itsu, that the Winter Soldier assassinated.
Oh shit!
So he just has bad luck all the way around.
I want to see that,
when it comes
dude.
to girlfriends.
I want to see Wolverine versus the Winter Soldier. That'd be pretty dope, because I'm thinking Winter Soldier, I don't understand how the power distribution works, but it seems like he can whoop Cap's ass. Or this is very possible that he could win that fight. That makes him a, competitive opponent for Wolverine.
You don't need to theory craft it too hard. Just go to Ed Brubaker's run post issue 25 on Captain America. You can see that fight for yourself. Where are we?
I'm writing this down.
Yeah, so we are on the Ravager ship. The gang's all together. They've just suffered a terrible loss. Drax had the liquid pumped from his stomach, circa Groot stabbing him in the chest.
Yeah, so
everybody's
his finger,
just kind of down in the dumps.
Because he's a tree, he absorbed the liquid, and that's how that worked. Did he stick his finger in his lung and absorb that gunk, and that was how he came back to life?
I mean, yeah. It was rudimentary CPR.
Well, they don't give you much to go with in this movie when they're flying around different planets and introducing so many characters. I want to know who's what, like what's going on. And Groot is something like a tree, and he speaks in Pokemon language, essentially.
He's
and
a floral colossus is his race.
And like I want to know more about these characters. He's probably not, but he could be my favorite character. Who knows? They don't. I'm only okay. Working with what they give me. So far, no, he's not. He's not.
All right. Every scene that Groot is in is great, though.
Well, what about where he throws the fireflies out there? Like, who knew that he had that power? Nobody. Did Rocket know?
He's actually never had that power before in the comic books, as far as I know.
I absorbed all these fireflies,
dope scene, so I'm gonna take it. He does plant-based shit. You're right,
and I'm really just talking shit. Like the movie was entertaining overall. It just that part didn't make great sense, but yeah, I'm gonna take it as is, and maybe at some point he absorbed some fireflies, and he was like, "Fuck this, I could use these one day." It's like it's like having a lighter on you. It's just useful.
All right, so they all formulate a plan, because all Ronan has to do now at this point is drive to Xandar, set the stone on the ground, and destroy the planet, make it completely go away. So their plan consists of not letting that ship hit the ground. How do you feel about Nova Corps in this one?
I feel like it was cool until you find out how easy it was to destroy. I thought this was a wonderful example of the backup good guys being incredibly helpful and useful. Because usually, like, I go by the horror movie rules of like whenever Michael Myers is doing something crazy and you phone into the cops, it's like, help! There's a crazy serial killer on the loose. Like we need you all down here with heavy guns and always the local sheriff is like, I don't believe you, kid. Stop it. It's Halloween. Go to sleep. Do something else. But no, the Nova Corps shows up in force, formulates a blockade, and tries their damnedest to save the day. Well, I wasn't mad at that at all. And the Ravagers, but no, that wasn't exactly what I meant. I kind of skipped a step. I thought that their their shield was super easy to take out. I didn't know that. I thought that it was kind of like, was it a net only? Because if it's a shield, once they connected, like it should be, you shouldn't just penetrate it with a. I guess they used the power stone to penetrate the shield, but it was like one shot through this net destroyed the whole net, and I was like, oh well, that shouldn't work that way. This takes up 150, 200 ships to make this net, and as soon as like it breaks through, it's like everybody gets squished to death. This is terrible.
Yeah, at least like a good 70 to 80 of them all blew up immediately. Yeah.
Ridiculous, yeah. And then
I can't vouch for the effectiveness of that.
How did they take it out anyway? Rocket flew through the main, like the windshield basically, and almost killed all of his friends.
Pulling like a Luke Skywalker. Like, I just gotta drive through the front window.
Well, it was the same thing Malekith did, right? In Thor, like they flew like right into the center room where everything was going on.
So where all the pillars should have fallen down in the Dark World, like Rocket successfully took out.
They're not afraid to use that scene, apparently. Rocket should have killed everybody in that scene. Do
you want to talk at all about Groot's awesome little sequence with the Sicarian soldiers? By the way, shout outs to laying groundwork for Thor Ragnarok right away with the Sicarian soldiers. I didn't notice that the first time I saw it in theaters.
Yeah, me either.
And granted, they don't play a big part of anything.
But the word Sakaar is thrown around a lot, yeah.
Yeah, you're just acknowledging that there's a planet out there called Sakaar, and we're going there one day. But yeah, Groot's big old smile after he takes out a gang of them. That was cute.
Yeah, another opportunity for me to say, well, how come he didn't do that shit before? But I mean, it was cool. It was what it was. He took out like 20 people with somehow just by stretching out his arm down that hallway.
Yeah, and a cute little character moment with the smile back, like he's proud of himself.
That's that. And that's that weird Disney. Everybody like smile kind of entertainment. Like, gotcha. Look at this cute little guy. Everybody likes him.
I feel like language-wise, this was the most profane of the Marvel movies. A little bit before that sequence, Drax is walking down the hallway and Groot
calls her a whore, right?
Yeah,
all the time.
You're my friend. Even you, space whore. You're my friend.
This green whore. You knew he was going to call her something because first he says like noble like Star-Lord, and then he says something about the next character. Who was the next guy? Rocket. He goes, this like vermin or something, and he like already gives him like a negative adjective, and then he's just like, this green whore over here, and she's like, you must.
That's enough. You're cut off. No more drinks. Yeah, but even then, like Rocket Raccoon, now we're all standing, bunch of jackasses standing in a circle. Like, yeah, they got away with every bit of the PG-13 rating on that one.
That's true. Yeah.
So Rocket flies a ship through a window, hits everything important on the way in.
We talk about Yondu. Did he already fall at this point, right?
Yeah, Yondu's ship gets taken out pretty early in the fight, and we get to see what his
arrow
is that thing called.
I don't know, but we get to see like what that thing is made, not what it is made of, with meaning one of those phrases like what that thing can do. And they probably should have shot him because it took him like 13 seconds to whistle. But either way, he had this dope ass.
Not even then though, because like they do that pan out sequence and like all of them are still standing by the time that thing makes it back into his hand. You know?
Well, but like they weren't going to grab him and take him hostage. They were going to kill him, right? So why not just shoot him?
Yeah, that's definitely an instance of like literally everybody stay in your ships and we'll fire on them from here. But even kill that guy.
Oh God, yeah, we forgot about something. Okay, something way too stupid that happened earlier. Remember the part where they turned off the atmosphere so that they couldn't get shot into prison to leave?
Mm-hmm.
What about before that, where he had like 3 teams of Rocketeers or Rocketers or whatever you want to call these guys?
Oh yeah.
Rocket 1, fire! Rocket 2, fire! All the way to 3, and then on my command, shut the fuck up and shoot the rockets at the guys escaping the prison. Do the one thing we pay you to do.
They were worried about blowback or, ricochets or something.
No way.
Yeah, no, I
Not
don't
after
believe
3.
that for a second either.
That was retarded. What
But
was that all about?
they needed to give Rocket some time to figure out his life, how to turn off the anti-gravity.
Why was that guy so vicious in his orders too? You could see the spit coming out of his mouth. On my
Yeah,
command! Like, I don't
that
remember
was
a
pretty
single
gnarly.
word, including the letter P, but he just managed to spitball.
That was a pretty tense scene. I'm not mad. But yeah, that is silly. Just,
No, I'm not mad at
kill
the
them
aftermath.
on my command.
Yeah.
Should have been what he said.
I'm not mad at the aftermath because I think that was pretty awesome when they turn off the atmosphere. Because at first I was like, so what? You could still aim. No, you can't.
You're floating. You're off the ground. Yeah, Rocket single-handedly takes out the Dark Aether, whatever the name of the ship is called. It crashes to the ground, and of course, Ronan isn't dead. But before that, we get a little bit of a We Are Groot scene,
Which I don't understand because
I looked to the left in my theater, and and the grown man next to me was crying like a little girl during the whole thing.
He's gonna die.
Yeah. What don't you understand?
Well, it's because I am like an idiot. Like, because this movie came out years ago, I did a little bit of research on Groot and about that he's basically like Lord of the Rings. Like, he just comes from a place where there's tree people, and that's how they communicate, and those are the words that they utter in that order, but like spoken differently. So they would never say something like "We are Groot" because he doesn't say "we" or "are."
Yeah.
They only know "I am" and then Groot. Like, he made that abundantly clear at the beginning. He didn't have a speech impediment.
What did he say specifically?
It's like,
he don't know the talking good like me and you, so his vocabulistics is limited to I and am in Groot in that order.
That's making fun of him, but that's like saying that dogs don't talk to each other, or like, okay, even in this animated world of like, this is basically a cartoon movie come to life. Pokemon, like, they just repeat their own name repeatedly, but they're saying something. It's like they're not retarded. That's just how they talk.
Well, I'm okay with it. Here's why. This movie is a 2-hour episode of the Care Bears. So the power of friendship has compelled Groot to pick up 2 more words in order to thoroughly hammer home the emotional impact of that scene. So I'll take it, Friendship is magic.
I'll watch it again, goddammit. I just watched it twice in the last like 24 hours.
Whoa. That's just my theory. There's no allusions to My Little Pony or the Care Bears in the movie.
No,
that's just my takeaway.
It's good overall. I mean, we're somewhere near the end. We can definitely like
there's
nothing to hide anymore. I like the movie.
Because right now it's pants off, dance off, and then roll credits.
There's more to it than that. I feel like there's a lot to the fact that Peter just picked up the stone and killed Ronan.
Yeah, but that's a sequel setting up stuff. Is there anything that you wanted to add, maybe foreshadowing for our Guardians of the Galaxy 2? But more importantly, how do you feel about circumventing the need for a third act throwdown or like a fight scene with Ronan? I mean, granted, they had that whole fight prior while the spaceship was in the air, but in order to stop his plan from coming to fruition, it essentially came down to a dance battle.
Oh, I don't like that.
That
part
only
of it.
one person took part in.
Yeah, okay. What I wanted to say was, I don't mind the fact that Ronan was still alive after the crash, because I mean, I like that whole like, I'm not dead, bitches. This is my final Frieza form.
Right.
But it seemed to me like if you're watching the camera like I did, like they showed Rocket and it looked like he had this idea, and then he went to go like run and go do something, and he made a look to Drax. Drax from there looked at Gamora. And then she looked over at Peter, and I don't know if it was like a, what are you going to do? It looked like stall him. I don't know. Maybe that's their look to each other. But Gamora was the only one who seemed like she didn't know what was going on. Like, so, and Peter Quill picked up the, okay, I'll stall. And it wasn't like he didn't know to stall. And like, he didn't just dance to see what would happen if they had 30 more seconds to live. I think he thought that he got some information from his friends, saying, hey, stall. I thought it was completely, it's stupid. This is where they really hit home with the whole comedy over anything that makes sense or matters, because this guy's about to stab the earth with this warhammer with the super duper stone in there, and he's about to take over this planet. Something that he and his family been trying to do for thousands of years. And what makes him stop is Peter's doing some weird shit in front of him. Yeah. Like that. No, like if you're going to take over the planet and some dude starts beating off, I don't give a fuck. Like, is this like, I don't, it's not going to stop me. I'm not going to address it. You're not even going to
pause your monologue long enough to be like, hey man, trying to end your civilization here. Can you put your penis away?
Don't even address it. Like, cause that's like, it's literally like that's a Hail Mary if I've ever seen one. Someone's going to do some weird shit. And I'm just like, I address that in the life that I live as a normal person. If someone does someone takes down their pants in public, but I mean, not if it's something like, I feel like the most adrenaline I can feel is like if I'm getting A, attacked by a shark, or B, like I'm OJ and the cops are after me and I don't know what to do. And I feel like in that situation, like I probably wouldn't be thinking like that. Just do some diversion and that'll get me out of this. Like,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but there's not much characterization.
Don't shoot him. He's dancing. He's doing some weird shit. Like, this isn't The Mask. Or is it?
Oh, a problem I did have with it is that Ronan has showed several times that he can just straight up kill you by pointing his hammer in your direction. And several times he's hit pretty much every member of the team with just like the push you away technique. I'm like, why not murder? Why not hit the murder button?
Yeah. They're going to use this a lot when Thanos takes over. Guarantee that. Like, people who should be getting died by just a tenth of the blast of the Power Stone are going to be getting knocked unconscious. It's that part's not going to make any sense. I thought about that. Like, Rocket, that's what I'm saying. He's good thing he's small. He shouldn't be getting hit by anything at all. Ever.
Yeah, right. He's a little fragile.
I wouldn't hit my cat.
I was kind of okay with him pushing Rocket away with the last one when he steps out of the ship, because like, he's right here at his goal. Like, he's just scoot that little rat aside and let me get on with my monologue. But when he sees them all in the ship and literally hits all of them by pointing the hammer at him, that one kind of drove me up a wall. I'm like, no, they're literally all standing in front. These are all the problems you have right now. These are the only things in your way. And you just push them.
It's very Star Wars-esque about when you think about how bad the bad guys are at shooting. Like, do you remember that gun that what's his name, Korath, when he was still alive, that he shot at Peter Quill, and then it blew a hole through the wall? That was a dangerous gun. When Peter Quill hopped in his spaceship, how come he didn't just shoot the ship with the gun? Like, he was like, go build this one gun and go shoot the ship. Like, no, dude, how about you shoot him? He's right fucking there. Didn't make any sense. They're all standing around just staggering like it's NASCAR and someone lost a tire. Like, he can't go with 3 tires. It's not going to work. Where's the tire? Someone get the tire. You have a tire. Throw the tire. That dude had a gun. And the one cool thing about that scene was you see the reflexes of the mulatto. What does he call it?
Mm-hmm. The Alyssa Milano.
When they finally did shoot him, like that, it was like he hit the fucking hydros on that goddamn ship.
All right, we're shitting on this movie, but we genuinely love it. At least I think. Jabril, let's sum this show pony up. How'd you like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1, directed by James Gunn?
Wait. Are we going to go over everything that happened and then sum it up?
This is the end of the movie.
Okay, well, there's that part we missed where they said that, I don't think we went over it, where Sean Gunn and the guy, I don't know, Merle Yondu are sitting talking on their way back, and they're saying that the guy, I don't know if they made a joke to it or not. It's hard to tell in this movie, but he says the guy that hired, what's his name, to pick up Peter Quill is an asshole.
He says, shame we didn't deliver him to his dad like we were hired to do.
Yeah.
Okay, Yondu says, the guy's an asshole.
So these are some cliffhangers they're throwing you. What happened afterwards? So, what's his name isn't dead. the tree.
Everybody.
Groot's.
Yeah.
Groot's not dead, even though it looked like he was dead.
Mm.
Didn't something happen after that? Oh, they had the Howard the Duck scene with the collector, which just meant that he got out of his cage or his package or whatever it was.
Yeah, that's a nothing throwaway end credit scene, kind of like the Captain America scene from Spider-Man: Homecoming.
Well, real quick, so what's the deal with Howard the Duck? Because he was a thing back in he was a comic character, or was there a cartoon?
Yeah, he's a Marvel comic book property, and also single-handedly one of the worst movies of all time, like up there with Freddy Got Fingered. So James Gunn just thought it would be a nice little troll to throw him in there, saying that we're Marvel. We have made more money than God. We can do whatever we want. So here's Howard the fucking Duck.
Yeah. And you never checked out that Generation X movie, did you?
No, I didn't. I still refuse to believe it exists.
I showed you, motherfucker.
Even though I've seen the picture. Didn't happen.
Not in my book. But okay, so summary of my overall feeling of this movie. I liked it. I laughed a lot. The music was really good. I feel like at the end, when they put in the music, Awesome Mix Volume 2, they played that really good song that I liked that part. To me, the music mix, the Awesome Mix Volume 2 should be the soundtrack that they play in the second movie, which I am not the biggest fan of. But the first movie had a lot of good ones. So if they're saying that his second cassette did all the music from the second movie, that means there's at least one or two of them on this movie. And one of them was Jackson 5. Mm. The other one was
James Gunn's favorite song.
But yeah. some good movies, the good music. I was loving on it. I like the movie. I don't know, 4 out of 5 as far as favorites go. Like, it's up there, but it'll never be my favorite movie.
Yeah. Okay.
What you think, Trey?
I mean, I'm going to echo all your sentiments. Next to Winter Soldier, one of my favorites before you get to Iron Man and the Avengers. Marvel has done a 2 for 2 in their last few outings. This is the last one we'll get before Avengers. So
Avengers Age of Ultron? Oh, but okay, so you think Phase 2 is killing it right now as far as Phase 1 and 2?
The highlights for Phase 1 were obviously Iron Man and the Avengers. And the highlights for Phase 2 are these last two movies, Captain America Winter Soldier and Guardians of the Galaxy. I think both of them benefited from an ensemble cast, and I think Marvel has taken note of this and has tried to go with that from here latter outside of their origin movies, their Doctor Stranges and Ant-Man's. Everything outside of that, the next sequels are going to star at least one other person. Great movie. And you can tell from the worldwide box office take. Oh my God, is that a real figure? $700 million, $773 million. Yeah, this movie raked in. And at the time, I do recall people saying that, this might not work. This might be too obscura and weird for the general populace to embrace. I don't think people are going to be able to wrap their heads around Star Wars, Star Trek set in the Marvel Universe. Is that a talking raccoon standing on a tree with a machine gun? This is silly. Get this shit out of my face. But no, everybody loved it. Everybody loved it.
I feel like the more interesting information for me, besides how many people saw it in theater, which I guess is the numbers you're kind of going with, how about how many people own a copy of it?
Yeah.
That's more interesting because, I mean, first of all, at this point, I know Guardians already came out, but I have a movie pass where I don't pay any price for movies anymore. So I just saw Winchester. Is that what it's called? Yeah, Winchester the other day.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Just did not give a shit what time of day it was or whatever, how much the price was. I just went and saw it. Just what I pay for this. But I'll go see Black Panther as many times as I can in the course of a week or something. That's going to be awesome. But I guess it's kind of hard to say how many people own a copy because you could own it digitally and just not have paid for it. But there's a big difference between how many people went and saw it because they heard it was good by other people who told them they saw it and it was good, and how many people said, no, it's good, I want one.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. And as far as box office figures, it's just for theater. And you can tell that word of mouth is doing the things you wanted to do by the third and fourth weeks of the film. Like, you didn't really hear anything about Justice League past its second release in theaters, other than, wow, it's doing terribly in theaters, which is what should happen with crappy movies. But yeah, with things like this, you want to rely on people's ability to yell on their keyboard saying everybody needs to go out and see this movie.
That's true. It's a good point. Too bad I am not a social media hound freak or a person who gets on and does anything actually ever.
It's all right, because I am taking care of things like that. You can find us at Infinity Warmups pretty much where you go. That's our handle on Twitter.
Handle?
It's our handle. It's our handle on Facebook. You can catch us at Gmail if you have any corrections for the litany of mistakes that we've probably made over the last... Wow, is this our 10th episode? Kind of proud of us.
I don't know. I'm not counting, but yeah, it's fucking cheers.
infinitywarmup@gmail.com for corrections and questions. We're almost caught up to the Marvel Universe, man. Goodbye, everyone. We love you.
I didn't get to drop my shit yet, Trey.
Jabril, what's your shit?
I don't want to say anymore.
Good.
You can find me at the Is It Just Me podcast, doing solo. Jay Parimal at Facebook. Brillo Vision on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter. And we'll see you guys next time with Avengers Age of fucking Ultron. Except I think I added fucking. Don't tell him how you feel already.
God damn it. All right. Deuces.
When we're all alone, keep it up, girl. Yeah, you turn me on.
You're making me late for the Super Bowl, Jay.